This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Friday morning as we wrap up another week in the snow-covered Capital District. If you're headed out today, I can just give you a little update. I came down the thruway from Amsterdam and got stuck twice, 2 blocks from my house. Actually had to at one point ask a passerby who was shoveling her walk if I could borrow her shovel as I'd gone right into a snowbank. I thought, at that point, oh, this is not going to be good because all the side streets were still pretty much snow covered. I'm lucky enough, I'm about a block away from the main drag. And if I get there, then I'm just a straight shot to the thruway. And sure enough, once I got out to that main road and then on the thruway, it was fine. So the main roads are pretty good right now if you're headed out this morning. And I'm sure now with the sun coming out or trying to come out, things will start to progress as the day moves along. But side streets still are a little dicey at this point. I mean, you keep that in mind and leave room for the plows to get through and clear things out because we got socked. We certainly got hit, as did much of the East Coast. Aqueduct has canceled for today. That was noted yesterday. Laurel, which today was actually a makeup day for them for a weather-related cancellation earlier this year. So they get a double dose of bad luck there. They were canceled yesterday, obviously. And now this makeup day has been canceled. So I would keep my eyes on their schedule and see if sometime before the end of their meet, they maybe try to get in another one or two of these makeup days. Dave Rodman said yesterday they had this makeup day. And then because of, I think he said they had lost a total of 3 days so far, and they were looking to make up races maybe on Saturdays later in the meet. But with a couple of full days now thrown in yesterday and today, wouldn't surprise me if maybe they try to add at least another full day at some point later in their meet, but keep your eyes on that. So Aqueduct Laurel canceled. Turfway has announced they're canceled all weekend long. And they've just been having, with the really cold weather we've been having and kind of crazy winter weather, Turfway's had some problems with their track, and that hasn't been unusual. Oaklawn was having some problems with their track, too, when they were hit with the cold weather. We talked to Frank Miramati yesterday, and it looks like the weather has turned there. He was actually talking about later in the weekend, maybe getting up to 70 down there at Oaklawn. So their weather has turned a little bit, but Turfway still facing some ice problems with the track. Obviously, they have the synthetic or the all-weather surface, but the all-weather still suffers from the bouts of extremes that we've had this winter, and so they've had some problems there. Turfway is going to be canceled all weekend long. Hopefully, Aqueduct, Laurel, and whatnot get back and can kind of dig out today and start racing again tomorrow, because Laurel has a nice stakes weekend with the Fritchie and Campbell kicking things off tomorrow. General George on Monday. Aqueduct also the Stymie tomorrow. So we'll again keep our fingers crossed that the tracks that are experiencing some problems from the snow yesterday and overnight will have things cleared out by the weekend. Do want to remind you of the events calendar here at Capital OTB, both at the Teletheater and online as well as some of the branches. And in fact, there is a branch fan appreciation day coming up tomorrow. If you're an OTB customer that frequents the Cleats branch, hey, come on over to Cleats tomorrow for Fan Appreciation Day. Fan Appreciation Day at the Cleats branch tomorrow, Saturday the 15th. Also tomorrow, it is a Showviver contest online, as well as next Saturday the 22nd. A couple of Showviver contests. Also, next Saturday, right here at the Clubhouse Racebook, it is Prize Wheel Day. So randomly selected folks during the afternoon will get to spin the big prize wheel. Next Friday here at the Clubhouse Racebook on the 21st, another $500 happy hour bankroll with Brian Nadeau. The last 2 Mondays of the month, there will be a knockout challenge, a $100 knockout challenge right down here at the Clubhouse Racebook, again, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, and those will be focused on Aqueduct racing on the next couple of Mondays. And coming up towards the end of the month, it is a Sunday Syndicate bankroll online, Sunday the 23rd of February. So again, some nice events online at the Teletheater or the Racebook and at some of the branches as well. And I don't want you to forget, right after the calendar page turns, if you're a participant in the Capital OTB Handicapping Series. The next event comes up on March 1st. It is the Shamrock Showdown. Saturday, March 1st, $100 entry fee, maximum of 3 entries. You can find out more about it and sign up online at capitalotb.com. Yesterday in Meydan in Dubai, they ran the UAE 2000 Guineas, and as I said, I talked a little bit about it yesterday looking at the PPs, and there were occasionally you see some horses who have United States connections, maybe have run a couple of times in their 2-year-old seasons, and then go over and try the UAE Derby, which is on the undercard of the Dubai World Cup. The 2000 Guineas is a prep for that. There weren't really any American connections there, but it was a Godolphin runner who got it done. Long John was the winner of the UAE 2000 Guineas yesterday. Emirates Flyer was second. Wade Nahn for Mike DeCock ran third. And again, you'll see certainly some of these coming back on that Dubai World Cup card in the UAE Derby. The big news over the past 24 hours, certainly, Larry Collmus has been named the track announcer at Churchill Downs. Kind of came from out of the clouds. I had heard no rumors about this. Mark Johnson was the announcer, and the press release says it was an amicable separation between Mark Johnson and Churchill Downs. Johnson came in, British announcer. I kind of like Johnson, and Johnson came in replacing Luke Kreitbosch, where they had, if you go back, and it was, 4 or 5 years ago, I guess, they had the audition process for 4 or 5 track announcers, and it wound up to be Mark Johnson. In the articles that were covering this change that was made, that was announced yesterday, the Collmus moving into the announcer's booth at Churchill Downs, they noted that there were some people who maybe didn't like Mark Johnson's style, and they noted in between races. And I wasn't quite sure. Some of the articles fleshed it out maybe a little bit, in that Johnson, they claimed it was a little more of a British approach. I'm not sure about that, as I don't watch British races certainly as much as American races. But I know Johnson also participated in the pre-race prattle, if you will, the handicapping of races. I thought he did a pretty good job, and I like Mark Johnson. I do like, for whatever reason, these British announcers or Trevor Denman, who I think is maybe from South Africa, but with the accent, I kind of like that. I don't know why, but Mark Johnson, being a British announcer, brought that to Churchill Downs. I liked him. I liked his style. I liked the between race stuff, but for whatever reason, Churchill Downs said they're going back to a more traditional role for an announcer, and as such, they pulled in Larry Collmus, who has just been on an incredible upswing. And a couple of the articles bring it back to the quirky call he had a couple of years ago with It's My Wife, It's Not My Wife, or I've forgotten what the 2 horses were, but there was the crazy wives call back at Monmouth probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was a video that went viral and kind of put Larry Collmus in the spotlight a little bit. Subsequently, he winds up down at Gulfstream and winds up to be the announcer for the races that are broadcast on NBC. So again, Larry Collmus kind of on a really good trajectory over the past 4 or 5 years, and now adds Churchill Downs, which puts the Kentucky Derby right in his wheelhouse as well. He's been calling that obviously for NBC, but now he'll not only call for NBC, but be the track announcer down there as well on Derby Day. So congratulations to Larry Collmus. And again, it was noted that it was an amicable separation between Churchill and Mark Johnson. Let's hope that was the case. But as I say, I like Mark Johnson's calls, but Johnson out, Collmus in at Churchill Downs. Some races to watch over the weekend, and a little later on we'll talk about some of the stakes action. And again, on today's show, regular visit from Ron Nicoletti at Gulfstream Park, so we'll get some thoughts on him for this afternoon's racing. But also look out for the stakes action down there, the very one in the MacD Armida. And then a little later on in the show, Brian Spencer from Fairgrounds will touch on racing today down there, but also they have a couple little stakes races, the Gentilly and the Sarah Lane's Oats at Fairgrounds, so we'll hit on them. But there's plenty of other great stakes action that it should be a couple of minutes at the bottom of the show. I'll just kind of run through some of those that you may want to watch. Some nice stakes action from around the country this weekend. But on Sunday, there is also going to be a race worth watching at Fairgrounds. The 4th race at Fairgrounds on Sunday, there will be an Asmussen Stone Street runner called Samantha Nicole. Why is that one one you want to pay particular attention to? a full sister to the 2009 Horse of the Year, Rachel Alexandra. So again, it's the same connections, Stone Street, Asmussen, full sister to Samantha Alexandra, full sister to Rachel Alexandra, the horse's name again, Samantha Nicole. She will debut in a maiden race at 1:70. Rosie Napravnik will be on board. Fourth race Sunday at Fairgrounds, so I'm sure a lot of attention will be paid to that one. Speaking of which, should pull up from yesterday, speaking of sisters of prominent runners, a Bluissant ran yesterday in Southern California, the second race at Santa Anita, off a layoff since July up at Saratoga, and a Bluissant, the half-sister to Zenyatta, who so far in the career, got the career off with a little bit of promise, but clearly it'd be tough to live up to the record put up by Zenyatta. And a Bluissant has had some fits and starts to the career. She's been very lightly raced. Winds up being a little bit of a disappointing second yesterday at 3-5. But a Bluissant back on track. And, you know, this was off a long layoff, so maybe this will move her in the right direction. But in yesterday's second race, a Bluissant, the Zenyatta sister, runs second. However, on yesterday's card, there was a very impressive performance. Another bullet in the holster for Bob Baffert on the Derby Trail. Yesterday's seventh race, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. Bayern and Tapit Rich both went out for Baffert in an allowance yesterday at Santa Anita. Tapit Rich, again, a little bit of a handful. Tapit Rich over the past couple of races, after having shown a lot of promise in the career debut, Tapit Rich has been kind of a handful and his own worst enemy, and it was a little bit of a handful again, even with some equipment changes. But Tapit Rich winds up running second, but well beaten by barnmate Bayern. Bayern wins off by 15 lengths at 3-5 yesterday. Gary Stevens on board. Stevens and Baffert both excited about this one, and Bayern certainly now off of that win yesterday out at Santa Anita, going to be one to keep our eyes on again in the Baffert barn, heading on the Kentucky Derby Trail. Article in Daily Racing Form yesterday, talks a little bit about Midwest Thoroughbreds. And Midwest Thoroughbreds and the Papises, husband and wife team, Richard and Karen Papise, they've been the leading owners as far as wins in the country for the past few years, and prominent in a number of tracks. Certainly when we're in here doing the handicappers report, you hear really all of us talk about them. Jamie Ness and Midwest down at Tampa Bay, very potent, but some of the other tracks as well, and they have a few other trainers. But it was an article that was notable, A, just because it had some quotes from the Papises, and being that they're so prominent in the winner's circle, they are very, it seems like they try to just hang under the radar a little bit as far as interviews and whatnot. I haven't seen a lot with either of the team there, Richard or his wife Karen Papise, but there's some quotes in the article, and the article is notable because they say Midwest Thoroughbreds is going to step back a little bit. The Papises own a company called Midwest Store Fixtures, which is a company out of Chicago, and as Richard Papise says, he has a full-time job. And the number of starts they're making on the racetrack just is requires too much attention, as you would think. Back in 2012, they hit the high water mark for the number of starters. This is incredible. The number of starters they had in 2012, 1,857 with 542 winners. Last year, 2013, they dropped that down to 1,479, and Richard Papise says that's going to go down even a little more. Now, he's not getting out of the game. It's not going to be a handful of horses, but he's going to step back from the number of starters and the number of horses he's had over the past few years. And he notes that it probably go a little more quality, stay away from perhaps some of the 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 claimers, unless he sees something very special. So just notable article again in the Racing Forum. You can read more about that. And again, it was interesting because it included some quotes from Richard Papise as well. And as they say, typically he floats a little bit under the radar, but Midwest Thoroughbreds stepping back. Although when you step back from 1,400 starts, geez, even if you stepped in half, you'd be having more starts than the vast majority of owners in the country. All right, we're going to take our first break for the hour. Again, note Aqueduct canceled for today, Laurel canceled for today, Turfway cancels all weekend long. However, when we come back from the break, I'm sure we're going to get some live racing conversation for this afternoon because it's going to be much warmer and much nicer down at Gulfstream Park. So we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, Ron Nicoletti of Gulfstream. Stay tuned.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right. The 2014 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes, and a seat at the 2015 Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month's contest is the Shamrock Showdown on March 1st. So sign up today, online at CapitalOTB.com, or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook.
I'm Anthony Mormino. Join me weekdays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the day in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekdays at 9, only on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Friday morning means a regular visit from Ron Nicoletti. And Ron, if we need a Living Vicariously forecast anytime, today's the day. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, guys.
And give us a little outlook at the forecast down there in southern Florida this afternoon.
Well, it's an absolutely spectacular day down here today. It's a little chilly for us. It's about 60-something right now, but it's supposed to go up until the 70s and 80s all weekend long. We did have some rain yesterday. We were off the turf. We're back on the turf. We've got a fast main track and good turf course starting today. So, and all weekend long, we'll be running Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's supposed to be good weather.
Excellent. That's what we like to hear. And Ron, before we get to some thoughts for this afternoon, I just wanted to go back to the past weekend. I mean, it was a very big weekend down at Gulfstream Park, both Saturday and Sunday. And of course, Sunday, the inaugural edition of the Jockey Club Tour on Fox. That was a nice broadcast. And I wrote a couple of the guys at the Jockey Club right after it, and I said, good work. I said, you also had the racing gods really look down favorably on you with the lineup of races. Groupie Doll, then you get the crazy long shot, and then you get a budding star. And while we talk, Ron, we're going to watch once more of the stretch run of the Don Handicap and watch Lee get it done here in just a really impressive performance for this one. I think Bill Mott has a nice handicap performer. But again, as we've said all week long, no disgrace for Will Take Charge, who I thought was a pretty good second, and kind of up against it with the way the race broke out for Lee. Took a track record to beat Will Take Charge. But I thought Sunday's program really phenomenal.
Yeah, and you made a great point because the track was exceptionally fast, and I thought Will Take Charge ran an absolutely great race, for being, as you mentioned, up against it, and the horse tried all along. And I mean, they were flying here on Saturday and Sunday on the main track. So anybody that was a stony closer like him to do what he did, I thought he ran a great race. But Lee, there looks like a star on the move. And then, of course, earlier, with Lochte springing the upset for Marcus Vitale and Orlando Boca Chica. They both got their first Grade 1 win. Nice. It was wild around here.
Oh, and give us a little bit, a first-hand account, because watching on television, the Groupie Doll performance, I've said all week long, was like a Hollywood script. So I'm just wondering what the reaction was on track, because it was one down the backside, you're kind of like, oh, how unfortunate, she's going to go out a loser. And then in the stretch, so I am imagining it just had to be elation on the track apron.
Yeah, it was. There was actually, you could feel it. It was actually a pall that went over the track. When she came out, it just looked like she didn't want to be involved at all. And it was one of the things from watching, like you and I, watching 1 million races like we have over our careers. You just said, "Oh boy, she's not going to fire today." And then she just exploded. I mean, she was 200ths off the track record, whatever it was, and she was geared down in the stretch. It was one of the most things. Afterwards, everybody had a big smile on their face, and I would say 99% of the people that came up to me, and I'm talking press and people, came over and said, "Oh, they shouldn't retire." That was the word. They shouldn't retire. That was one after the other. It was like, so it was a fantastic performance, and from there it was all uphill. It was great.
Yeah, a really nice day, and as I say, a nice day for the inaugural broadcast of that Fox Sports Tour.
One funny part of the thing is D. Wayne Lucas, is always the most impeccably dressed human being. His suit didn't get here, so he had to saddle a horse in jeans. But his jeans looked like, you and I have never had a pair of jeans like this. They would starch so much, but he couldn't. I did not have his suit, so I just thought that was hysterical. So he saddled in a dress shirt and jeans, and you would never see D. Wayne Lucas saddle a horse like that. That's just something I'm throwing out there. I thought it was fun.
And I have seen him, as you say, dressed down, and his dress down is a whole different look.
Oh, yeah.
Blue jeans, they're all pressed. And, it's a different look for D. Wayne. All right, let's take a look out at this afternoon's races, and then we'll also take a look. Got a couple nice stakes races tomorrow as well, so we'll take a look at those also. But let's kick things off. You got a few for us today. First off, in the fifth race today at Gulfstream, got a starter optional claiming event. They're scheduled on the mile on the turf. How'd you see this one?
Well, my best bet was number 3, Long Hunter, and Long Hunter was 5-2 on the morning line. But for some reason, I haven't figured it out yet. I got the scratches in this race. We are on the turf, but they scratched the 5, 6, 7, and 8. I just got those scratches. So Long Hunter is going to be, what I'm saying, is going to be a really short price. Now, this one, it's stepping up to the next level. She shipped him from New Orleans and defeated $20,000 optional claimers. Won that race by like 7 lengths. Trainer Mike Maker, he's really good with horses, winning consecutive races. Javier Castellano atop the 6-year-old Gilding. There was, the other horses that I picked second and third have stayed in the race, and that's the 1 Grip Hands and the 2 Hey Leroy. So Long Hunter, my best bet of the day, and I guess the scratches, I haven't quite figured that out, but we're going to deal with a 2, 3, 4, 5, 7-horse field now instead of a 10-horse field.
Yeah, trying to read the minds of owners and trainers is very difficult. We get the same thing up here in the summer at Saratoga, where it's inexplicable sometimes what happens with the scratches. All right, let's look out. Race number 8 this afternoon, an allowance optional claiming event. This time they're looking at going 7 furlongs on the main track. Your thoughts in the 8th?
Well, we got a really nice horse returning to action, and that's the 2 Calistoga, making her 4-year-old debut after a brief but really impressive 3-race sophomore campaign. She won her first 2 races here. She won them by like a combined 11 lengths or something like that. Then she finished a 5-wide fourth. She was beaten 1.5 lengths. That was in the 8 Bells on Kentucky on Churchill Downs weekend, May 3rd. Hasn't been seen since, but trainer Bill Mott, just having an excellent year, has got this horse training exceptionally well over the deep Payson Park training track, and can't wait to see her come back. She was a pretty nice horse here last year during her sophomore campaign. And I also used the 7 Salamera and the 5 Sky Skier.
All right, and as you say, that's part of what makes the wintertime down at Gulfstream so nice. You get some of these horses on the comeback, starting their seasons down here at Gulfstream, and this is one that showed so much promise last year, particularly, as you know, right over this Gulfstream Park surface. All right, 9th race today is an allowance optional claiming event, again on the turf, mile and a 16th. Your thoughts in the 9th? I
went with the 6 Naples Gold. I'm going to stretch out to, this is a mile and 7/16. Rallied to finish third. That was a local debut. It was against Simler, was going 9 furlongs, typical Christophe Clement move. He's also got another horse in this race, the 4-horse Celtic Arch, and has go-to jock Joey Bravo returning on this Daughter of Langford. And I just think this horse is set up perfectly for that distance. And then I used the 8 Clearbrook, bred to handle this distance. She's a daughter of Smart Strike. And, of course, if it's Gulfstream, you're going to have a Kitten horse somewhere on your ticket. So I used the number 12 win for Kitten, daughter of that super turf sire, Kitten's Joy. We have at least 1 Kitten a day running here, Kitten Day, we call it, since the last 2 years, it seems.
I can believe that. They are all over the place. And I think there's certain folks who like the cat horses. And so They've got something to play every day, it seems like, somewhere. All right, let's look out at the weekend. As noted, there's a couple of nice stakes races this weekend down at Gulfstream. We'll first look at the very one. This is fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. They're scheduled for 1 3/8 on the turf, grade 3 for $100,000. And Ron, while we're talking, I pulled up October 20th race, the Dowager at Keeneland. We're going to watch Preferential win that one, and Preferential has been off since winning that Dowager. I think the numbers fired in the last couple of starts show that this one is going to be competitive in here. And it's Bill Mott, so the layoff not really a concern. But again, we'll watch the number 2 Preferential win the Dowager. I also, Agua Marine, to me, kind of interesting. First couple of starts in this country seemed to show some potential, and then the last couple not so much. Off the layoff, I think Christophe Clement may get that one's head screwed back on right. And Anjaz for Albatrani and Godolphin was also interesting to me. But how do you see the very one?
Well, I got Preferential on top, but I used the 2 left a message in second. This one was second in that race you just watched into Preferential in the Dowager. Then she comes third and runs by another horse that's in the race, runs third behind Inimitable Romance. That was in the 12 furlong Long Island Handicap, stretching out today after counting trouble at the start, raced wide. That was in the Endeavor up at Tampa. Had a legitimate excuse in there. You're getting Javier Castellano, our leading rider. So I threw that on the ticket. I find number 7, Anjaz, interesting too. Runs exceptionally well fresh, which I like about her. And and was second at this distance in the Sheepshead Bay back in May. Makes her first start. She was in the weigher at Saratoga. Tommy Albatrani, Jose Lezcano, definitely a long distance specialist. So I got the 5, 2, and 7 in the very one. Very one is a very interesting race. See how I segued into that?
I like that.
Oh, boy, am I sharp.
And a little later on the program, Mac Diarmida. And I remember Mac Diarmida when he was out there running, a really nice turf runner from years past. But this is a grade 2 event, $200,000 purse, 4-year-olds and up. Again, going 1 3/8. And Ron, while we talk about this one, I went back to last year's Pan American and the very, very impressive performance from the West Point runner, Twilight Eclipse, when he set a world record that day at 1.5 miles on the Gulfstream Park turf. Now, that was following up a 4th place finish in this Mac Diarmida. But last year at Gulfstream on Mac Diarmida Day, it was an off-going on the turf strip. When he got the firm strip, again, he came back to set the world record in the race we're about to watch. So Twilight Eclipse coming off an off-the-turf win over at Calder back in December looks a little bit interesting to me. You also have Amen Kitten for Wesley Ward and Ken Sarah Ramsey. And the horse that's just going to be a little bit interesting to watch, turf debut for the Travers Dead Heat winner of 2012, Alpha. But I mean, you take the Travers Dead Heat and the Woodward out of the mix. 2 very prestigious grade 1s, but otherwise Alpha's just kind of a fizzle. And obviously that probably is leading to this experiment tomorrow, but I think he's going to be kind of interesting. But what were your thoughts on the Mac Diarmida?
I did go with number 6, Twilight Eclipse on top of the ticket, a multiple grade 1 stakes place performer at this 11 furlongs. You saw that race. Amen Kitten in second. And I went with the 4, Slumber, beaten a little over a length by Little Mike. That was in the 12 furlong grade 1 turf classic at Belmont in September. Going to stretch out again. 4th in the mile in the 16th, Fort Lauderdale. Billy Mott, Johnny Velasquez. I think this is a perfect spot to stretch this horse out. And, you know, I'm keen off that race against Little Mike, so I use Slumber on there. But you're right about Alpha. You know, they said all the right things. It's 26 starts on the dirt, and they've always wanted to try the turf. And it's interesting they're trying it when the horse has been down the track the last couple of races.
Yeah.
So, you know, I agree with what you said there. But, you know, you never know around here. That's what makes racing at Gulfstream Park so interesting.
Yeah, he just adds a fun story to the race, I think. It's going to make it much more intriguing now to watch to see what Alpha does. Ron, before we go, again, things have heated up really over the past month and a half or so. You had that great weekend this past weekend, but there's been some nice news on the training track as well. Honor Code got out there the other morning.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. I mean, I didn't actually see it, but they said he looked pretty good out there. And just every day something exciting happening here. And, you know, we did not mention we have almost, I think, $700,000 in our Rainbow Six jackpot carryover. So that we got going for us too in the fifth race. So it's just been one of those weeks here. I don't know how much higher that's going to go because they've been hitting it every day, 6 to 6, but no single ticket.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because I wrote it on my notes yesterday, and then I almost forgot because you're getting up to that point where we have the past couple of seasons where I think it's now becoming very, very attractive because even if multiple tickets hit it, the conso, I think, becomes very interesting. And it seems like that's becoming the case now because, boy, you must have added almost, maybe 100,000 yesterday?
Yeah. And, the other day, I actually picked six on my ticket, that I put on the tip sheet each and every day, which was no big thing. Everybody had it. It still paid $369 for 6 to 6, So if you're not betting that much with a 20-cent ticket, it's a really good bet. I mean, to hit them single ticket, you got to have all the stars align and everything. But to grab one, and if you look, I always wanted to do this, and I never did. If you went back and add up all the Constellation 6 to 6 payoffs, I bet you it's averaging over $1,000 over the course of this run with this Rainbow Six, whether it was 10 cents last year or 20 cents this year.
Yeah, it really attracted my attention last year, as I say, when it got up to about this point, because even those console tickets were playing pretty well. Right. And when you're at that 20-cent base level, everybody can kind of jump in and make an interesting ticket for themselves.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So, again, I'm happy you mentioned that because folks definitely should be looking at it. Ron, as always, appreciate the visit. Good luck with the selections this afternoon. And, again, a nice weekend of stakes action as well. And Holiday Monday, correct?
Yeah, Holiday Monday, and we got the Saban on Sunday, a Grade 2 event, mile and the 16th on the main track. So we got a Grade 2 stake on Sunday, and then we're going into a holiday card on Monday. Don't know if it'll be 10 or 11 races, but we'll see what happens when we get that overnight.
Sounds good. Thanks for the visit this morning. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.
It's Ron Nicoletti from Gulfstream Park. We'll take our next break. When we come back, Brian Spencer. He's over at the fairgrounds. I'm sure they're racing today, too. Despite what the weather is like outside our door, some folks are enjoying much, much nicer weather. So right after this, Brian Spencer. Stay tuned.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Fascinated by the world of horse racing? Interested in honing your handicapping skills? Class is in session. Night school, Monday nights. Easy to access online. It's free, interactive, and informative for the casual and serious race fan. Horse Player Now Buzz. Live horses to watch emailed to you daily. Our eyes, your prize. Night School in the Buzz. Visit horseplayernow.com for details.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Cassano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today. Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Racing Across America, joined now by Brian Spencer of the Fairgrounds. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good. Give us a little update on what your weather's like down at the Fairgrounds this afternoon.
Well, we took a lot of rain earlier in the week, no sun, not a lot of wind, two of the best things for drying out a turf course. So we are fast and off today, but the weather does seem to be turning. The sun is out, so fingers crossed for the remainder of our weekend, which does stretch into Monday. We have President's Day racing also.
And I noted, I pulled up a weather forecast, and it looked like the temperatures are now starting to moderate a little bit, which is going to make the drying process easier.
Yeah, it's really been difficult because when the sun is out, it's still in the upper 30s. It's just been cold. It's been damp. It's been sort of consistently like that. So at least with a hopeful string of 50s and 60s and some sunshine coming up, hopefully that'll serve us well.
Yeah, I saw some 60s in the forecast, and that makes a big difference. You get a 60s and maybe a little breeze and some sun. That'll help things enormously. All right, Brian, with things changing up a little bit there weather-wise and as far as turf racing and whatnot, we got one to look at this afternoon. That'll be the 8th race, which is an allowance optional claiming event scheduled on the main track at 1.70 miles. How'd you see the 8th?
Well, I think that I think what it boils down to is that Mike Stidham has two really sharp players in here. Song to You figures to be the one who's going to go favorite in this spot off a good second by a neck last time out. But I think his other horse, Rock on This, that's the number 2 in race 8, has a really legitimate chance. He sat up close to a pretty honest pace last time out on the turf, and in that race it was really falling apart near the wire. He hung in there well to run third, and note that the winner of that race, Geothermal, who was making his first start for Steve Margolis, turned in a very impressive, very flashy performance yesterday on the dirt, beating some very good horses like Jimmy Sims. So he came right back to win. Loved the company line, second off the layoff, and I think that he may be able to get the best of his stablemate here.
All right, and I always love the angle of the other half of the uncoupled entry. It's just and I think the game plan there is they often come in because the trainer knows what the other horse can do, and so he wouldn't enter the lesser half, so to speak, if he didn't think that horse would be competitive as well. And so I think there's some logic behind playing the other half, the longer half of these uncoupled entries, and they very often do get the job done. All right, Brian, let's take a look out at the weekend. Tomorrow you got a couple of stakes races on the card at Fairgrounds. The Gentilly tomorrow, a Louisiana-bred stakes race. They're scheduled to go about a mile on the turf. I pulled up some video here for us to look at going back to December 21st, first race that day. We're going to watch the number 2, You've Got a Friend, Get It Done. Now, this race is scheduled for a mile on the turf. A lot of these horses really either haven't tried the turf or maybe have just experimented now and again. You've Got a Friend is one of those. Has never been on the turf, but is notable that this race last time that we're going to watch, a nice win, was the first time around 2 turns, so we know can get the distance. The turf is going to be a question mark, but Louis Roussel having a pretty good meet down there, Richard Aramia on board. So the one that was interesting to me was You've Got a Friend. But again, I think there's some question marks on the surface tomorrow, if it holds on the turf.
Yeah, if we're going to run this one on the turf, this one was a lot more difficult for me than its counterpart race, the Sarah Lane's Oats. But if it stays on the turf, I think there's sort of 3 different ways to go. I ended up going with the rail horse, B&B's Pulpit, kind of even, kind of one-paced in the late stages of his first route try last time out. But I love the so much green in the pedigree. You've got Brahms with a Pulpit mare, and I think the B&B's Pulpit is one of those who has some legitimate potential upside on the turf course. You've Got a Friend, the one you mentioned. I'm a little bit more suspect about his turf breeding. That being said, he looked like a very sharp, different kind of horse, going around 2 turns last time out, outside of the runner-up who came back to win. Not really sure what he beat there. And if you just want to kind of take the simple way and look at the class of the race, it's the 6th, My Pal Charlie Brown. He was second in a stakes race. The I'd Be Cool, 2 starts back on November 23rd, and that guy, I believe, is now perfect and impressive 5 for 5. So I think those are the 3. If it holds on the turf, I'll go with the pedigree upside of B&B's Pulpit.
Yeah, and I was kind of looking for pedigrees myself and whatnot, and nothing super jumped out at me, but I have no arguments with that angle because, again, it's a funny race as far as the horses really having more main track experience. Let's look out now at also tomorrow will be, as you mentioned earlier, the Sarah Lane's Oats. I remember when Sarah Lane's Oats was running down there at Fairgrounds, and this one's going to be on the grass going about a mile. And for this one, I pulled up a video of the January 20th race number 2 that day. Going to watch a few that are entered tomorrow in this race. Running first will be Artist Cry. Running second will be Glamour Ride. Running third will be I Love Cher. All of those come back tomorrow. What were your thoughts on the Sarah Lane's Oats?
Well, I almost feel like the pace has to be pretty honest in here, with Speed Follette coming in with some dangerous speed, blading Wildcat, who owns really sharp sprint speed, going to stretch that around 2 turns. I think Artist Cry gets the right setup. I think she's the one to beat. But the horse that I'm really interested in is the number 3, Suave Berry, who ran just a horrible race 2 starts back on the dirt, but came back to break her maiden in an off-turfer last time out. But I think she's a much better filly on the turf. Her late running style kind of fits the way that this race figures to set up, as you've got those 2 sort of legitimate speed horses, a couple of close-up pressers, and a couple of horses who want to be up near the front. So I was looking further back in the pack for the winner in here, and had a difficult time splitting Suaveberry and Artist Cry, and you got to love that Artist Cry is twice proven over a turf course with some give in it, which if we're on the grass tomorrow is going to be a certainty.
Yeah, and I think these are both kind of fun little stakes races for the Saturday card. But, Brian, I have to ask you, I think there's got to be a lot of anticipation down there for Sunday. As the Racing Forum noted, you got a couple of nice horses that are going to be entering the track on Sunday. And Big Sugar Soda, just going to be an interesting horse to watch for Asmussen. But I think all eyes are going to be on Samantha Nicole, the full sister to Rachel Alexandra. So I think there's got to be some nice anticipation down there for the Sunday card.
Yeah, and I think that as far as Samantha Nicole is concerned, I think this should actually be a really sort of nice gauge for us to see what she's made of first time out, because the filly who's drawn outside of her handmade looked very good, like a different horse going around 2 turns. So she's got sort of a baseline bit of talent that we can use to, if she runs her race, to sort of gauge where Samantha Nicole is. But she comes into this with a really forward series of works for a barn that doesn't typically work them very fast. You get Rosie Napravnik in the irons, all signs say that she's very well met here. And, I figure the price will be short based on her pedigree and her connections, but I'm going to wind up going with her anyway over that talented enough filly outside of her handmade.
Yeah, again, it's just one of those races where it's going to be interesting to watch a nice story horse, Rosie Napravnik, Steve Asmussen, Stone Street. So except for the jock, you have the Rachel Alexandra connections as well. It'll be interesting to see. It's always tough to live up to the siblings, the successful siblings. We saw that yesterday out in Southern California with the Bluey Sant, who, boy, it'd be awful tough to live up to Zenyatta, but it's going to be fun to see what Samantha Nicole does. And as far as Big Sugar Soda, that's a little later on the card. I haven't had a chance to look at that race, but it looks like, a race of 7 3-year-olds. Is that a nice event?
Yeah, there's a nice one in there, and then further out in that field, I think Big Sugar Soda looks pretty tough. Looks like he may have needed that last race. But you've got a horse in there who's very intriguing to me, Burning Warrior, who's been in stakes company, cuts back. He's got 2 blowout sprint wins, and I think that he's really the main danger, and he brings Chris Rozier in with him for this one, which is always a plus for me.
And things are shaping up nicely for later in the Fairgrounds meet as well. I wonder if in the morning, have you had a chance to see Ria Antonio work?
I have not. Our notes writer has, and she seems to be doing very well right now, leading up to this. And I know that they originally were pointing for the Risen Star. Now that one's going to come up with a pretty full field, so she's going to go to the Rachel Alexandra, which is going to get a shorter field, but it's shaping up to be a real tough one too, with Divine Beauty and Cassatt, the filly for Larry Jones, with a ton of upside.
Yeah, you've got a really nice series of races, and they have shaped up very well this season in particular down there at Fairgrounds for the 3-year-olds, not only on the boys' side, but on the girls' side as well. So all eyes will be focused there over the next few weeks also. Brian, as always, we appreciate the visit. And again, nice to know the weather's clearing up down there a little bit. Hopefully we'll be on the turf a little more as the meet starts to move towards its conclusion. But we're enjoying the racing so far. Good luck this afternoon. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks a lot. Hopefully your weather will follow suit soon.
Really, we need it. No question about it. Thank you. All right, thanks, Brian. We'll take our last break of the hour. When we come back, again, a nice weekend of stakes races. I'm going to take a little preview of some of the stakes action and point you out to what's out there and maybe some of the horses to watch. So all of that when Racing Across America continues. Stay tuned.
I'm Jeff Carl. Join me Saturdays and Sundays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the weekend in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekends at 9, only here on the OTB TV network.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. with live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Friday morning as we wrap up another week here. And as it is Friday, we're on the cusp of a stakes weekend, a holiday stakes weekend. Last weekend was big. I think this weekend is very interesting as well. Coast to coast. We'll take a look at some of the action from this upcoming weekend, give you a little preview on some of the races you may want to keep your eyes on. On the 3-year-old side, there are some Derby points up for grabs out at Golden Gate Fields of the El Camino Real Derby, Grade 3 event for a $200,000 purse going a mile and an eighth. We're going to take a look here at the stretch run of the California Derby, the prep for this one. Last time out at Golden Gate, this was January 18th. The winner here is going to be the number 2 Exit Stage Left for Jerry Hollendorfer. Subsequently, Exit Stage Left came up with a little ding. Exit Stage Left now on the sidelines, but running second, the number 1 Enterprising. Goes out for Tommy Proctor, and this day was ridden by Aaron Greider. So it will be Exit Stage Left, Enterprising runs second, Infosec runs third. Both Enterprising, as you see there, closing the number 1 horse, and number 5 Infosec are back this Saturday in the El Camino Real Derby. To me, Enterprising is kind of interesting. That was the first start over the synthetic surface at Golden Gate. A nice second place finish with a good closing effort there. Enterprising that day was the 9-5 favorite, just beaten by the 5-2 second choice Exit Stage Left. As noted, that one now on the sidelines. So Enterprising back up from Southern California for Tommy Proctor. But as last time this was ridden by Aaron Greider, this Saturday will be ridden by Gary Stevens. Gary Stevens rode this horse in the first 3 starts of the career, and then last time Aaron Greider. But I find it interesting that Stevens is making the trip up from Southern California to ride the Tommy Proctor horse. Proctor and Gary Stevens have been very productive over the past couple of months, certainly out in Southern California. So Enterprising to me is very interesting. I think a lot of action certainly will be sent the way of Tamarando. Tamarando goes out for Jerry Hollendorfer, 2 starts back, third behind Shared Belief and Candy Boy in the Cash Call Futurity. Last time out, second in the Cal Cup Derby behind California Chrome, who I think showed some real talent in that race and could turn out to be a nice one as well. So over the past couple of races, Tamarando has finished behind some pretty good ones. 3 starts back, won the Real Quiet at Hollywood Park. So Tamarando, Enterprising certainly look like the 2 that will be the most intriguing as far as attracting attention from the betting public. Bob Baffert also sends up Icy Ride. Doug O'Neill sends up I'll Wrap It Up. So some Southern California invaders. Again, there are Derby points on the line. We're still in, and I'm trying to think, I don't think it's until next weekend. I'm virtually sure we don't get to the 50-point races, 50 points for the winners. I think we're still in the 10-point for the winner. I know virtually this is a 10-point for the winner Kentucky Derby points race, but there are points on the line. Coming up on Sunday out at Oaklawn is going to be the Bayakoa, and I bring this one up just because I like this horse. Don't Tell Sophia, 6-year-old mare who just a really hard knocker in her career. 18 starts, 8 wins, 4 second-place finishes, over $500,000 in the bank. Don't Tell Sophia is in the field of, what do we have, 10 in here on Sunday out at Oaklawn. We're watching Don't Tell Sophia here, the number 3 horse, win the Pippin last time out at the 40 cent to the dollar price. Wins off by just about a length and a half under Channing Hill. Channing Hill back on Sunday. And again, this is Don't Tell Sophia winning the Pippin a couple of weeks back, 3 weeks back or so. Goes into Sunday's Bayakoa now. Last year, Don't Tell Sophia won the Pippin, followed up winning the Bayakoa. I always like when trainers come back on a similar or the same pattern as they've done in seasons past. So Don't Tell Sophia, winner of the Pippin last year, won the Bayakoa, won the Pippin this year, comes into the Bayakoa then in some pretty good form. So again, just I like Don't Tell Sophia. I think she's a hard knocker that's fun to keep your eyes on. Coming out of that Pippin also, Fully Living and Sister Ginger, the 2nd and 3rd place finishers, are also back on Sunday. But down at Oaklawn Park, the Bayakoa on Sunday with Don't Tell Sophia. Sunday out at Santa Anita, it is the San Vicente. We were hoping it would be another look at Indianapolis from Bob Baffert, but Indianapolis, I believe they scoped and found some mucus was the story. And so Indianapolis on the sidelines, at least briefly. I don't know if this is a major setback, but will miss Sunday's San Vicente. San Vicente on Sunday at Santa Anita will be the 5th race, Grade 2, $200,000 purse, 7 furlongs. And it's a field of 6. I don't know whether there's any standouts. A couple of them are pretty lightly raced, and maybe we haven't seen their upside, so they may come out of this looking a lot better. A horse like Roger Rocket for Bob Baffert won the career debut back on January 18th, going 5.5 furlongs that day. The buyer figure was nothing super impressive. But again, at this stage of the career, start 1 to start 2, or really at any point, they can kind of really get their head screwed on and get some maturity and improve quite a bit. So a horse like Roger Rocket has the potential to maybe step up and be something special. Horse that I think in here who has already shown a little bit of ability would be Kobe's Back, who made the career debut at Hollywood back in June and made it in a $100,000 stakes race, won that. So automatically this horse had some credentials. Laid off from June until November, came back in the Hollywood preview, and on the comeback effort ran second to Shared Belief. So that wasn't too bad. Then threw in a really disappointing effort in the Cash Call Futurity, but had an excuse. So Kobe's Back is going to be the one in here with the resume that already has something on it that could be interesting. Papa Turf also has shown a little bit of ability so far. Our Pretty Boy Floyd thrown a couple of decent numbers so far. So again, it's a field of 6. Cherubim, who had the 90 buyer figure maiden breaker back in December. There's some potential in here. On the pay, Indianapolis would have been one that would have attracted a lot of attention automatically because of his debut for Baffert. But I think what we're left with is a field of some horses that are, we're getting the barometer race in here, and they could come out looking a lot more attractive than we're seeing on the way in. Talked a little bit yesterday with Frank Miramati about the Essex out at Oaklawn Park on Saturday. Steel Case for Mark Casse, I think, is kind of fun, coming off the win last time at Oaklawn and being one that a couple of years ago showed some nice promise for Casse as a 3-year-old. Just could be rounding back into some decent form after a non-existent 4-year-old season. So Steel Case to me in the Essex on Saturday at Oaklawn Park is going to be interesting. Also at Oaklawn on Saturday, the rescheduled King Cotton. The one that I found interesting there was Pico's Pride. And Pico's Pride, a little bit of a horse for a course angle perhaps at Oaklawn with 5 exacta finishes in 9 starts. This is a horse, however, who has been off since July at Delaware, but goes out for Mac Robertson, and he not knocking it dead at the current Oaklawn meet, but typically Mac Robertson is a guy you certainly have to watch. So Pico's Pride, a little bit interesting to me. But that said, I think this King Cotton on Saturday is going to be very, very competitive. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't send all the money in on Pico's Pride by any means. I just find him a little bit interesting, and we'll see what the price is, and maybe could become more interesting. Out at Laurel, talked a little bit about these races with Dave Rodman. Laurel on Saturday, the John Campbell and Concealed Identity for Linda Gaudette. Bold Curlin for me was the interesting one, coming off of the win last time out in the Native Dancer. Won that pretty convincingly. The second and third place finishers there, Indian Jones and Managed to Count, also in on Saturday. The Barbara Fritchie also this Saturday. The Marty Wolfson Shipper, Centrique. I found interesting just on Marty Wolfson shipping in. I think you always have to pay a little bit of attention to his horses. Coming up Saturday at Aqueduct is going to be the Stymie. To me, the two horses who probably are going to attract the most attention, Percussion and Mail. I suppose if you looked at them getting in a speed duel, Jonesy Boy as a little bit of an outsider maybe is interesting as well. Also coming up this weekend, I do want to mention the entries aren't out yet, but certainly, again, this weekend includes the President's Day holiday on Monday, and there'll be some nice stakes action around the country there. But notably, down at Oaklawn, the Southwest is going to be part of their Monday card, and the Southwest is shaping up to be very, very nice. We will see the return of Strong Mandate on Monday down at Oaklawn. You also have Louise Flower, who won the Springboard Mile out at Remington at the end of last year. That race has been very productive. I'm looking forward to that. Paganal, who broke the maiden in the career debut back January 11th down here at Oaklawn for Cody Autry, I think is going to be an interesting player in there as well. And Tanzanite Cat, who won the Smarty Jones at Oaklawn. So Monday at Oaklawn, certainly keep your eyes on the Southwest. Again, the entries for that probably should come out a little bit later today. All right, so a lot of stakes action that is worth keeping your eyes on here over the weekend, this holiday weekend. The action will continue right through Monday at many, many of the venues. We'll certainly talk more about that when I'm back in here on Sunday, Loose on the Lead, and then again when we kick back in here for Racing Across America on Monday morning as well. Going to wrap things up for Racing Across America for this Friday morning, not only for Friday, but for the week as well. We're here every Monday through Friday from 10 until 11 a.m. A little earlier was Anthony Mormino and Jeff Carl with the Handicappers Report. Hopefully they gave you some good ideas, so cash some tickets this afternoon. We'll be back in here on Monday, but as always, plenty of good racing action and racing conversation the remainder of the weekend. Handicappers Report Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. 10 a.m. on Saturday, it's Down the Stretch with Mark Casano. I'll be back with Loose on the Lead on Sunday morning. That wraps things up for Racing Across America. Thanks for joining us all week long. We'll see you back in here for more Racing Across America next Monday.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.